Video cameras captured the savage beating of an officer inside the federal detention center in SeaTac.
A KING5 investigation finds the recording also reveals something else. Serious problems inside the nation's federal prisons. Chris Ingalls reports how one of those problems has a quick fix that prison officials just aren't using.
Early morning at the federal detention center in SeaTac.
He's working by himself right now.
A single corrections officer is unlocking cells so inmates can start their day.
He is all alone in this unit with at least, I'd say probably around 120 inmates. He has no one else to watch his back.
It's exactly the moment the two inmates at the tables have planned for.
They know that it's the perfect time to take us by surprise. He's got his back turned and they jump up and start the assault. You can see him struggling to get away. I can't imagine what must have been going through his mind.
Inmate Sabir Shabazz, a pimp facing federal child prostitution charges, is armed with this pipe torn from the sink in his cell. This attempted murder in progress is stopped by some unlikely heroes, other inmates.
Those two inmates that stopped the assault saved that officer's life. He must have seen that as a miracle.
Michael Meserve is himself a federal corrections worker.
They've armed themselves and they're waiting.
Who says this video reveals the increasingly hazardous conditions that Bureau of Prisons employees face. Not just the attack.
Get up here, we need help now!
But its aftermath. Prison video shows Shabazz and another inmate, armed with this homemade knife, square off when other officers finally do arrive.
On the right-hand side now, we have an officer coming up with pepper spray. I only see 3 staff with the 2 inmates.
Just 3 officers are available to take down 2 armed inmates.
A normal response would be a minimum of 5 staff members per inmate.
Meserve, who works for the Corrections Officers Union, says more than ever, employees in federal prisons are outnumbered.
We work in a very dangerous environment, and something like this could happen to any Bureau of Prisons employee on any given day.
It's been almost a year since the assault here at the detention center, but the Federal Bureau of Prisons still doesn't want you to see this video. The United States Attorney's Office refused to release it, citing privacy and security concerns. The KING5 investigators got it only after we took them to court. It isn't just the union that says conditions in federal prisons are deteriorating. A pair of recent reports to Congress found federal prisons are up to 55% over capacity, with nearly 250,000 inmates. Single beds have been replaced by triple bunks. At the same time, there is a BOP-wide staffing shortage in excess of 3,200. Those are thousands of jobs that aren't being filled for budget reasons. The danger isn't always contained behind prison walls. 2 months ago in Chicago, 2 bank robbers broke out of the federal detention center downtown, putting average citizens at risk.
It's kind of scary, you know, it's a lot of things going on, and from downtown to here.
Braided sheets together into a rope and rappelled 17 flights down to the ground.
Chicago Corrections Officer Gary Mills says the inmates went undetected as they broke a window and chiseled through concrete.
You had inoperable cameras, what we feel is an insufficient amount of staff working. Just creates a perfect storm for something like that to happen.
Congress has cut back prison funding, but BOP has no authority to cut back on the tide of inmates.
We have medical in the building.
The officer injured at SeaTac has not recovered enough to return to work. Almost a year after the attack that nearly killed him, the early morning job of opening cells is still left to a single officer.
That's a recipe for disaster. If the inmates are willing to conduct this kind of assault tomorrow, it could absolutely happen again.
Now here's how it works. That single officer is required to open the cells before 6 a.m. 6 a.m. is when the full day shift staff clocks in. So why not wait 15 or 20 minutes when you have more manpower to open those cell doors? In a statement to KING5, the Bureau of Prisons answers that question by saying this level of staffing is typical for BOP institutions. In other words, officers are exposed to this danger at many prisons across the country. The BOP also says we remain committed to continually reviewing operations and procedures and making modifications as needed. But BOP didn't answer our question about whether they're specifically reviewing that policy that seems like it could really be fixed pretty quickly and pretty inexpensively. They've got a lot of complicated things they've got to deal with out there, but this seems like one thing they could fix tomorrow if they wanted to.
Just wait 15 minutes until the full shift's on.
Right.
Wow.
Very interesting. Thank you, Chris.
Okay,
Thanks,
you bet.
Chris.
Sure.